Just told me it's being live streamed.
Jesteśmy w tym samym wszechświecie.
And we're
Jest to
live.
same tło.
Okay,
Okay.
we're live, Arek, we're live. Hello, 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 everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So we have to basically start with an important information that it's being live streamed. Wait, because I have to mute myself there. So I think we have to start with an important information that guys in the agenda, like the event was supposed to start at 1:30, but the actual first session starts at 2. So we will guide you through the agenda right now. So sorry for that. I don't know why we did it that way. I think it was because last time we had some problems with the time management and finally the panel was too late and everything. So anyways, welcome. Welcome. Arek, you want to say something for the welcome or we just
Yeah. So welcome everybody. Like bear with us for a couple of minutes before the first session will start. We'll try to entertain you a little bit.
Well, I
But
mean,
yeah.
we know what to do, right? So let me guys share with you the agenda of this presentation and what we're going to be doing today exactly, like what guests you guys will meet and what topics we're going to share. And we will also share with you a little bit of a background on why we're doing it, because I think it's important. Some of you guys are new here, so I think this will be pretty important. So this event is being called Rocketing Launch Phase for Stellar Success. And it's a part of a series called E-commerce Growth Meetup, which we have started when Arek, like how many months ago? Like quite a long time, but it used to
I
have
think it was like May. I think it like the series, like the online series is like 4 or 5 months, but I think like the talks that it was like an hour ago, I mean like a year ago, where we
yeah.
started to like to organize like growth meetings.
Yeah, we have been doing these meetings live first together with WeWork, and then we moved them online. But I think the next one actually going to be live. So that's what we're hoping to get back on the ground when the weather is getting better. You guys are more motivated to actually come and meet with us live. This is organized by two companies. We'll share with you in a second who we are if you haven't been here before. But I think the most important part is that we're doing it for the purpose of knowledge sharing, community building, and empowering really founders and boards who want to invest and profit from e-commerce in Europe, in the world, maybe. Sometimes we have guests actually from around the world, so we never know exactly who's here until we check the guest list. So yeah, so enjoy this event, take notes. Everyone who comes here says we're sharing quite a lot of deep, practical stuff. So hopefully you will have a similar experience today. So let's roll with the slides. So my name is Eva Wysocka. I'm CEO of Tribe47. And I'm also the founder of Portal Yogi, which is the Netflix for yoga in Poland, let's call it. And we've got
Yeah, I'm Arek Wiśniewski. I'm the CEO of Sublime. Sublime is an analytics platform for e-commerce and D2C brands.
yeah, and exactly that's what we were saying here about who we are. So Tribe47 is the agency that executes growth in Sublime, measures growth. And actually we meet on many projects. So that's how we actually got to know each other. We have common clients and we are very complementary because usually that's basically how it works for us, that we meet on the different projects and collaborate. So what do we have in store for you guys today? So at exactly 2 p.m., we're going to start with my talk about the down-to-earth perspective on costs and risks you need to take for e-commerce growth. It's something that, the presentation I've been cooking for a while. So, I mean, that's some pieces of the talk that I'm having with different founders to be, sometimes boards, who come to me and pose this question of like, okay, so if I'm supposed to launch an online store, So what's going to be the possible results? What's going to be the cost that I should actually bear in order to build a business that is scaling and that will eventually be really profitable for me? Like, is it going to bring sales the first month? Obviously not. But when it's going to happen and what should I get ready for? And the second talk will be by Arek.
Yeah, by me and then Max, we are going to talk a little bit about key challenges, key questions that you need to ask if you want to navigate the e-commerce launch phase, and the metrics that our clients like use to make a decision. So the key metrics in this stage.
Because I have seen Arek's presentation, I was just today morning doing my last efforts to make it an actual flow. So I hope you guys will be able to smoothly flow from what I'm going to be presenting to what Alex and Max prepared. So we're going to start with a big picture and we're going to later zoom on the actual first 6 to 8 months of the product
Exactly.
market fit phase, where you need to be really working with the metrics and doing lots of tests. So I think that's going to be super fun. And I think it's going to give you like this, maybe going to put into your head some visual of what it means to work on an early stage e-commerce business. And finally, obviously, my favorite part. So a panel discussion, it's something that we always do during our e-commerce growth meetups. This time I have invited really cool people to the panel. I will introduce them once again once the panel will start, because some people are appearing just for the panel, some people are appearing just for one session. So we're always doing like a very short intro. But I wanted to really have a talk about the reality of these first months with people who have been there, done that, basically. And we have like, I mean, it's a 1 hour panel, so there's some limit to the amount of information we can share. So this time we have decided to actually gather 3 people. Last time I had 4, and I felt like I haven't really got everything I wanted because it was a little bit too many people. I think 3 is maybe optimal. And we've got Kuba Zwolinski, who is CEO of the Snow Dog. It's the digital agency who actually builds really complex, but not only, e-commerce solutions. They were very famous for building eobuwie.pl, which is one of the Polish legends when it comes to e-commerce. And apart of that, they also had a lot of other realizations in Poland and also outside of Poland. They're famous for being a Magento expert. And they also are doing their own conference where I'm going to be leading another panel and that we are supporting, which is called Meetup, and it's happening in, if I remember well, on 15th of May. So if you guys are interested, like there are going to be a lot of talk about blending offline and online worlds. So this is also a very hot topic. That's something that I think at some point we also want to cover here, but it's very difficult from the standpoint of analytics. And it's still something that a lot of brands are a little bit, confused about how to do it. But definitely Kuba is the guy to ask when it comes to the technology. Then we've got Magda Marzec. She's from the company that we as Stripe 47 collaborate with for a couple of years now. It's called Light ECommerce. It's a part of Żabka Group, and they have launched the e-grocery, 2 different e-groceries in Poland. One is called Już, the second one is called Delio. And we have been part of these launches. They constitute a part of the experience that I'm also sharing with the founders. And Magda is also very experienced, like a brand manager. She has been a part of launches of, for example, Netflix in Poland, or an app called Too Good to Go, which is in a really hot and sexy field of ordering the food that is actually, losing its, how would say, usability. So Magda was apart from the marketing side on these launches. And finally, we have Waldek Pil from Formats. And I'm really happy gonna join the discussion. It's a really amazing and very interesting person who been to the world. Like he lived in Singapore for many years. He been into, investment banking. He at some point actually took over his family company, like leveraged it and sold it. And finally, at some point, he decided to buy a existing supplement brand that didn't have its own e-commerce. And he decided to launch an own e-commerce for the brand that already was quite present in the market, quite successful, profitable, and having lots of different channels of sales, with the distributors selling online included. And we have been part of this e-commerce launch. We still are, because actually it's still that phase, I would say. Like, I mean, both our company and Sublime is there. And it's very interesting how it plays off for Valdek. I'm really a supporter of his approach because it's organized, it's structured, it's measurable, and that's how he's approaching businesses. And I think this is like a model case. So I would love for him to share his experience, especially that it's one of the more difficult scenarios of launching an e-commerce because of this existing infrastructure of different partners and different entities who are already selling the product, and because of the brand present in the market. I will talk about it a little bit in my presentation. So here you can see all these people that you will be able to see online once we start the panel. So before we actually start my talk in a second, like Anna, like what's your attitude to this early phase of the companies, this launch phase? Do you like the launch, or you prefer when they're already like somewhere out there and there's more data? Like, you're the data guy, so you should hate actually the early phase. I don't know. I never asked.
Very, very interesting question. Like, to be honest, we started a couple of years ago when we started our company. Most of our clients were like startups, so we served them at the product fit stage, and it was really nice to work with them. I mean, because like they're very flexible from at least from my perspective, from data guy perspective. They were like they're quite flexible. They really like interested in the data, and they want to know how the company is doing and to pivot, and when to pivot. When the company is like getting bigger, there is more data and more insights to get. So from that perspective, it's better. But we sometimes we observe that like the company structure is getting like stiff. So and there are like silos. So from that point of view, it's harder to cooperate, let's say. But yeah, people like when companies is bigger, it's better from data perspective for sure. But from a cooperation perspective, it's a challenge sometimes. But you know that.
Yeah, I know that. I think I have a similar thoughts about it. I mean, my career in digital marketing started at Mindvalley, which was a digital publishing house, and was still a startup when I joined. But later, like, we were doing actually a lot of product launches online. So the brand was there, but we were launching some sort of a sub brands that were separate at first, and then maybe we were incorporating it under the main Mindvalley brand eventually. So at some point of my career, I was doing a launch of a new brand or a new kind of a product, but under a new domain, under like a new name, everything, every like 3 to 6 months. So I was basically launching to the moment where you would wake me up at night and you would ask me like, what do you should do to launch the new thing? And I would basically like spill out the whole list of things you should do. So launch was kind of like my bread and butter, but it was obviously in some sort of um, more controlled maybe environment, because all the products were digital. You didn't have like the physical shipping and all that stuff. And it was all under a parent brand. So we were benefiting from, for example, the list of subscribers, the list of clients. So there was always this early leverage that we could actually benefit from. to offset some of the costs that I will be talking about today. So that was a bit different, but still, at some point I felt like I only wanted to launches. Then I felt like I hate launches. This is nightmare. This is craziness. But in the end of the day, when I look at Tribe 47, I think this is where we thrive because apparently we actually like to order stuff. And I think if you set it right from the start, it's easier to reach a success. Or even if you don't reach the success, at least you will know why not. Because if everything is messy and in the chaos, then it's just very difficult to make conclusions, to make decisions, and I think we all been there in some aspects of our lives or businesses, and I think we like to set these infrastructures for growth, and this is where we love to start because usually when when you look into some company or some system and it was already built for a couple of years, there's usually something very weird, and you have to kind of discover like what is that. I think from analytics standpoint, you feel the same like. What is
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Where's the data for like the year 2021, right? I mean, it disappears because someone did some change and forgot about something. If you set it from the start and if you do it properly, I mean, it's supposed to get easier.
Yeah, you're right. And like building on that, I see like a change on the market because like a couple of years ago when you were like starting an e-commerce company, like GA4 was like everything that you needed, or at least like people thought that is. And right now we are getting like more and more like inquiries from really young companies that already want to like collect like good data. So I think like the mindset is like changing, and probably also because like the technology is like getting cheaper like to do it and to analyze data. So I think it will be easier for me and you to launch like new businesses because that would be like purely like data driven and not hunch driven. But hunch is also like very very handy thing at the beginning because you cannot like measure everything. You don't have like enough time to look at every metric, so you need to like only choose a couple.
Yeah, exactly right. These are the important questions, and but I still feel like sometimes, there is some point of messiness that you can get yourself into. I will mention it in my presentation when I will talk about some common mistakes I see that is very difficult to dive into for people who, for example, join from outside. And your team will have to be changing. You will need to onboard new people into your business if you want it to thrive. And how you actually put together all these pieces will be very crucial for your future success. And obviously not all the businesses are meant to grow. Like I think it's also like some sort of bubble that we live in that, it's unsuccessful when it's not scaling. It doesn't have to always scale. Like you can build business to reach some volume and then stay on that level, and that's still fine. And I think you're growing to it with time. But if the scaling and growth it's supposed to be achieved in a few years, like constantly, and it's supposed to really get to the bigger size, take a piece of the market, etc., then it's very important how you start, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like very important for the investors to, because if you want to like get money from the market, they will ask you for the data. So they will ask you like about your AOV, they will ask you about your retention rate, stuff like that. So we need to like have this data ready to get the money, because without that, like they won't give they won't give you any money. So in one way or another, you need to have like data for that. You need to know your business.
Exactly. Okay, guys. So I think I will jump into my talk. So I
Good
think
luck.
it's getting it's the time. It's almost the time. So thank you, Arek, and I see you soon. Let's see if I'm gonna make it in 30 minutes, hopefully. Okay, and see you here after I finish. And you guys gonna continue with your part. So bye. Okay, hopefully you guys see my deck properly. So, oh shoot, give me a second. Okay. Basically, this presentation is about the down-to-earth perspective on costs and risks you need to take for your e-commerce growth. And I have combined here a lot of my thoughts and a lot of like things that I'm discussing with different founders and boards who often come to me at the early stages. Actually, I'm very happy when people come to me at these early stages and they want to get some advice and they want to exercise some different scenarios. I think that's very cool. I mean, I would love to be that person that helps because that's where I also thrive. And these are the conversations and talks I love to have. But I also think it's very mindful when business owners are not jumping into the hot water, but looking at launching an e-commerce and online store by analyzing the realities of the business and trying to understand really what's the complexity of this world of customer acquisition and retention, because actually this complexity is only rising and what's out there, it's competitive. And if you want to make a mark with your business, you will have to get ready for it. So let's start with let's start the presentation. Let's go into it, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. So let me start with some like building some sort of scenario. So do you guys know that majority of retail sales are actually happening still offline? And I think that's very important to understand that online sales, in terms of retail in Europe, are making only a 15% of all sales. So that means that, still the majority is happening offline, and obviously online sales will grow and they will grow much faster. I mean, like over more than 3 times faster than the offline sales. So there's going to be the world where more people will be making sales online, obviously, at some point. I mean, interesting fact is that it's growing 30%, 13% in Europe, and it's at 15% in Europe. But if you look at Asia, there are some of the highest growing online sales countries. And Asia is growing like massively. It's like, they kind of skip this moment of using the desktop and move directly into smartphones. Maybe in a way, like some of the people who will be born in Asia, they will skip the, process of buying some of the things offline and they will jump right into the online purchases for some of the product categories. I don't know. It's just some kind of a theories, but we have to understand that this is all growing. Yet, and other important data to understand is that 47% of online sales are happening on the biggest online marketplaces, which are obviously Amazon, eBay, Walmart, recently Shine, like some stuff like that. And of course, AliExpress. When we talk about Asia, we can forget that. So in the end of the day, comparing to selling via these marketplaces or digital distributors who have like a huge, already a huge presence, having an own online store, an own e-commerce requires some initial investment, requires know-how, and a long-term commitment. So it's like not all the companies and brands are deciding to do it, obviously more and more, but like I hope we see like this big picture. So there's a couple of questions that arise. So first question is, what are the most common scenarios of this online store launches? I will cover that. And what makes these e-commerce businesses grow? Like what makes them grow? Not just be there and like, oh, we have a domain, we have like an online store and it's like making, 20, max 20,000 euro a month and it's there. Like we don't know like what is it? But what makes them grow into an interesting business for the investor? And what cost versus results should you expect? And finally, what are the most common mistakes? So I will not go again into like my life story because I was talking about it, blah, 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 right before this presentation. If you guys have been here before like the start of this presentation, but basically I'm the founder of Tribe 47 that executes growth and launch for different online businesses. I've been in digital marketing for over 15 years now, I started at Mindvalley, where I was doing a lot of product and website launches at some point of my life. So, I kind of, grew in this phase of launching. And I'm also the founder of Portal Yogi, which is like the digital yoga platform in Poland that was already used by over 70,000 of customers. So that's like me. And as Stripe 47, we have worked with over 200 different brands. And all these brands were actually online brands who had some online shops, some sort of e-commerce, like you can see some examples of them. So whatever I'm presenting here is the combined experience from them. I mean, I will not be sharing any financial data of any of these companies. So don't worry if some of our clients is here, like, don't you worry, like nothing like that is here. If you know me, you know that I'm always doing like my financial simulations of the costs and results, and I'm going to be showing some pieces of that. But yeah, it's based on my overall experience. So now, let's start with this first question of what are the most common launch scenarios? Like, what does it mean to launch an online store? Because I think it's like important to see that there's very different cases out there. And the first of them, I called new brand from scratch. I mean, the most simple scenario, like simple from understanding it, but difficult from the actual thing, because like we have some totally new brand, we have a new market where the brand hasn't been, and a new channel. So, there's zero, nothing, and now we have a new brand that is entering some market and is entering online. So basically, these are often some D2C, very often some D2C brands, often some hot FMCG categories, not to care. You guys are often joining our events, like you were there, a brand called Yorkaya, who also been there. They were in this position as well. There's some new categories or innovations like Psibufet or Matchfeed. The guys from these companies have been at our events as guests too. So it's a difficult scenario. The main leverages are the timing. Of course, it's my perspective, right? So also take it into consideration. And the founding team, like who does it? And if the timing is right, if the product really matches the market, if this product market fit is there to find. But usually these are the high pressure projects because sometimes they are funded. There's a high pressure on growth. There's also high pressure on reaching the break-even point, about which I will talk about today. And that's where this project is a little bit stressful, but fun. There's also a second case kind of connected to the first one, much less common, which maybe it's actually common, but we don't know. That's also an interesting thing. It's when we have a new sub-brand. So we have some sort of a brand that decides to launch a sub-brand. So that's what I was essentially doing when I worked at Mindvalley. And, we were launching a new domains and new brands of courses, like, for example, Silva Mind System and Silva Method later, that was a part of a Mindvalley. So Mindvalley was like the whole kind of parent company, and we were launching these sub-brands. In the beginning, no one knew it was the Mindvalley behind it. Later, it started to kind of put it together. But there is this case that there's a new brand. There is an existing market. So there is a brand that already exists in the market. The parent brand exists in the market. And finally, there is a new channel. So, this online channel wasn't used before. And basically, from the clients that we have worked with recently as Stripe 47, Żabka już and Dario or something like that. So, there is a Żabka group, Żabka brand, which is actually very known. And they're launching some sub-brand that is supposed to enter the digital market. So that's actually a very interesting case. For some reason, I think underused by many of the FMCG companies, and I would love to encourage more of them to do it more often, especially those that don't have an online presence as of yet. So some of the main characteristics is that it actually can leverage the existing brand very well. There's usually, from my experience, a high pressure on growth because, the parent brand is doing it for some reason. And there's also seeking the synergy with the parent brand. So it's very important to seek the synergy because the synergy can actually offset some of the costs. And I will not go deep into the culture of the companies, but very often there could be a challenge with a culture because let's say this parent brand is more traditional and then they want to launch an e-commerce, which requires much more dynamic team approach, work culture. So the idea of how to build the teams, like if it's a good idea, for example, to outsource this growth work, it's an interesting topic to cover. And we actually have done a presentation about that, which I will link inside this presentation. Then we've got another quite simple case and common. It's an existing brand, new market. So we've got existing brand, something that already exists, like Amazon, and they're entering a new market. And they're entering the new market with the channel that they already know. So they use this channel to enter their first very market where they have entered from scratch. So these would be usually the foreign brands entering a new market. I put here Too Good To Go, Netflix, because in the end of this event, we've got Magda Marzec in the panel, and she was a part actually of 2 of these launches. So I think she will be able to share a little bit. Temu recently in Poland is a brand that just entered Amazon. Vault, like we have been a part of a Vault launch in Poland, Stripe 47. So it was like an international brand entering a new one. And there's some different characteristics. I think here important part is that usually there is some leverage, and that leverage comes from the know-how and from the team, from the fact that that company already did it in some other market. And then we've got a scenario which recently became my favorite because I think it's the most complex, actually. We've got existing brand, we've got existing market, but a new channel. So it's a brand that didn't have their own e-commerce store, but now they want to have it and they want to make it big. And like, for example, recently Biedronka in Poland is like a big case because they never had their totally own e-commerce store, and now they have actually opened it. Like there's lots of talk about it online, like what they're doing, like some high order value required for a free shipping, whatever. Walmart did it at some point. That was very successful in the United States, but there are also like other brands. I mean, today in the panel discussion, we're gonna have Waldek Pilch from Formats, and Formats is a brand that is doing it right now. They're in this launch phase of being present in the market for many years, being offline, selling through many distributors, and now they actually have their own e-commerce, and we're cooperating with them to make it successful. So main characteristics here are like there could be different goals. I will mention it in a second, but I think what's most important is that the synergy between the existing sales channels and this new e-commerce channel is both the opportunity and challenge. And I will dive deeper into it on the panel discussion because we're going to have Baldek here, and that's a great opportunity to dive into it. So we've got these 4 scenarios. And basically, just zooming on this last one, there could be some different reasons why, for example, a successful offline brands launch their own online store. And I think it's also another important and interesting case because these reasons vary and they're just more complex than a cash. And I think that puts having your own e-commerce store in a slightly different perspective because obviously the first reason and the goal why they do it is generating additional revenue source and market share. But the second, very often, it's just access to real-time customer data. You can get that from marketplaces. You can get that if you're selling only through retail chains. You can't get that kind of great data about how, what, when your customers are buying and using your product. And you can always send an email to all your customer database if you don't have that base. And that base will be created only if you're going to be having your own online store. You have higher chance to build customer loyalty because you have more tools in your own shops that you will have elsewhere. You can do new product tests. So you can test something in your online store before you launch it, for example, to the retail. And finally, you can try to offset marketing costs like brand awareness by directing the users to your online store. So there's lots of reasons why offline brands could do it. It's just that, the question remains, like how they should do it to make it even successful. So there's like three concepts I want to quickly browse through to give you a perspective on what makes an e-commerce business grow. I mean, we could have an hour talk about it, seriously. Like it's like that. But the first thing is to understand like what are the stages of the e-commerce growth. Arek will zoom on the first one in the presentation that comes after that. And it's a launch phase or otherwise product market fit. In Arek's presentation, Arek's and Max, you will see the product market fit name. Launch is the name I prefer, because I got used to it. But the main goals of this are to look for a scalable acquisition channel and to see if that really is there, and building some e-commerce infrastructure. And to really find the scalable acquisition channel, you have to do many tests around data. That's what Arek gonna talk about. But later, once you're actually done that, you should start scaling advertising budgets. You should add new acquisition channels more than you had before. And you should focus on retention mechanisms in some of the businesses. And finally, when your business reaches the maturity, that's the time to enter new markets, to add significant other channels, like, for example, offline, if you haven't been there before, and maybe launching some sub-brands or something, or new product category that is very different. Once you already got that, you are there, you are making money, your business is healthy, is generating healthy profits for them, for the owner. And this first very difficult phase that could last for a while, even up to a year. And that is the frustrating, crazy, interesting, costly part. But it's very important to do it right. And the growth phase can last up to years. I've seen businesses that are still growing, they haven't reached that maturity. They haven't really fall from the curve. They are still on the curve. So that really depends on the category, but at some point obviously it happens, but I think we're gonna dedicate a different event to this. Now, there are two, what are the phases? Now, there are the two most important top level metrics that you should start looking at and thinking about from the start as a founder, not as like the, growth manager too, but they're gonna have more stuff and are gonna talk about it in his presentation. But now it's the question to you guys, if you remember what these metrics are, because we have been delivering presentations about them before with Arek. So the smart of you out there, I'm not saying if you don't know, you're not smart, but the ones who remember probably already know. But the first one is the customer lifetime value. So how much this customer going to be worth for me? And it's important to measure and to measure and to plan it right and to understand it right, because it's not just about the revenue, it's revenue minus the actual product delivery cost. There are going to be some costs that are related to the product. So it's usually the product contribution margin times the amount of purchases the customer is supposed to make in your store during their lifetime. And the second one is actually how much you are paying to acquire that customer. And the most true metric of that is actually the division of all the acquired clients in a particular month divided by all the costs that your growth team bared. And in the beginning, it's insane. And it can't be different, seriously, because there's many costs you will have to bear. But at some point, you're looking to have this metric at a really healthy level. And the most important is to actually measure the proportion of these two. And the question is like, what should be that proportion? And obviously the answer is like, it depends when. So, in most of the businesses, especially if the fast-moving consumer goods category, in the beginning, the customer, you might not even offset the acquisition cost with the first order. So you have to think about like, what's your e-commerce system is set for? How have you built it to make sure that this customer comes back? If that's your business model, obviously. So it depends when, and you can't expect the same ratio of customer lifetime value to the customer acquisition cost in the month 6 of your business experience and in the third year of your business experience. You should have and set different expectations. So now, the final concept is the 9 areas that I believe every e-commerce should cover if they want to set themselves for growth. And let's just quickly browse through them and jump into how much it costs to actually make them happen, because I know you guys are looking for that insights from this presentation. So launch and growth management, obviously, people who manage the whole mess around it and make sure it's actually not a mess. Website building and optimization, communication and creatives related to both brand and performance marketing, marketing automation and user database management, advertising on various platforms. Because if you stick to just one, you're posing some risk on your business. But to, for example, master these two, which are usually Google and some paid social platform, requires putting some effort into it from the start. SEO, data tracking and analysis, influencers and PR management, and finally, own social media channels. Maybe there could be more areas, like I'm happy for you guys to throw in something that I have forgotten, but for me, it kind of puts into perspective. It's for me to like my quick check, if I talk to some business, have they thought about all these? Or maybe not. So now the question remains, if you have covered all these things that are responsible for setting your business for growth, what are the realistic expectations in terms of cost and results? So let's build a simple case for that. We've got 10 minutes, we're gonna do it. So let's take the simplest one, like new brand from scratch, the first scenario I shared with you. Dietary supplement brand. From scratch, non-existent, new market, new channel. High product contribution margin, over 50%, good for them. Average order value at the start of the business, about 40 euro, 170 zlotys, and it's growing. Not dramatically, 10% from this in a year 3. Could be better, but average new client acquisition, month-to-month growth in the very beginning is very aggressive. Obviously, it's not difficult to scale, like 50 clients to 100. It starts to be more difficult once you actually get to some volume, especially if the product market fit is there. So in the beginning, it's 50%, then it drops to average maybe 25%, then it drops to about 5%, and it drops to 2%. Like it's gonna happen like, of course, like step by step, but if you are really scaling, like, in the year 3, your new clients will not be growing month to month in such a crazy rate. The blended paid media cost per acquisition, which is the cost of your paid media, of your entire advertising budget, what you give to Google, what you give to Facebook, divided by all the acquired clients, starts here at 200 zlotys. So look, it's actually higher than the average order value even, so I'm not making any money on the first purchase. But it drops about 50% by the year 3. And it drops because, first of all, we already entered the marketing engines. And what's interesting, in the very beginning, if your brand is totally new, you will not even be able to scale advertising because Google, Meta, they will lock your scalability. And a lot of businesses don't really understand it, that in the very beginning, like, the scaling will be starting from a very small numbers because these budgets will be only available at the small scale. You can't really scale massively in these first 6 months, you will have to scale. You can scale massively month to month, but you will start with a very low number. It also drops because if you have invested in SEO, if you have built your email list, not of clients only, but also of leads, like you're going to be offsetting this cost of advertising with other free for you channels. So it's possible to draw, but if you're not doing all these things, like you might actually experience that you're dependent on the paid channels only, and the cost of paid advertising, they're going to be only growing. I mean, they're growing. So the fact that you actually can drop that means that a lot of your clients in the year 3 are not coming only from your paid advertising. And finally, by the end of year 3, majority of revenue comes from repeated clients. So actually the new clients in the year 3 are like maybe 20% of the clients that you're acquiring. The rest of the revenue comes from clients that were already in your database. In this particular example that I have simulated, in the end of the year 3, it's about 3.5 order per an average client. Could be maybe better, but because majority of clients are acquiring in the later stages, that's probably how it's going to look like. It might change with time. So now, what's the simulation of possible cost and revenue? And then disclaimer, guys, it's some sort of simulation taking into consideration cost results I have seen. So year 1 will be tough. Probably you can cross the 1 million in the revenue. You can build a significant client base, but your costs will exceed your revenue. Like you will not be making money in this first year. And the people and tech costs will actually be higher than your advertising. And it's a very common thing that I've seen around founders, like how possible I should be paying a fraction of my advertising costs to people and to technology. That's how it will look like at some point, but in the beginning, that's not how it looks. Now, year 2, if you've done the right things in the year 1, can already start being interesting. Your CLV versus CAC ratio can actually go over 1. And you can reach those months finally in a year 2 when you're making 1 million zlotys per month, which is about what, 220,000 euro. I'm not saying it always happens, but if you do the right things, it's possible, it's accessible in the year 2. But the business start being really interesting, most likely in the end of year 3. That's kind of the realities I have seen. And that's only where you can start aiming for this mythical CLV to CAC ratio that everyone looks for. But also look that here, the cost of people and tech, they're kind of the same over the months. What's really scaling is the cost of advertising. It's scaling the most rapidly between year 1 and 2, and dropping and scaling a bit less aggressively for the year 3. Now, what is hidden under these first year's growth costs under people and tech, from highest to lowest? Like I didn't put like the numbers there because it kind of will vary a bit, but you can see like what's the most expensive, what's the least. Technology, that's what's the most important and really expensive at the start if you want to build it right. Creatives, a lot of people don't really believe that, but in the very beginning, you have to do a lot of tests in terms of your communication, and you will have to create and manage the creative process. And it can be really a black hole of costs if you don't manage it right. But in the end of the day, very often finding the way how to sell your products will take a lot of creativity, and these costs will take management, production, and also the ideation. And finally, there's growth management, performance management, marketing automation, SEO, social media and influencers, and analytics support. So that's what's hidden under that number of 1.5 million zlotys or 320,000 euro, of course, forgot the K. So now these are 2 slides from a different presentation that I have given. I have connected it here where I was talking about the average cost of teams executing growth in e-commerce businesses, and really how these teams eventually tend to look like and what's the scenario that people are looking for. And here's some important summary points of this this financial simulation. So, and remember, it's a simulation, obviously. In the first months, there's only costs. 100K revenue is possible somewhere between month 6 and 8. Ratio between these metrics will cross 1 in the year 2. It's possible to reach 3 in year 3. And break-even point on the total investment put into it, it's probably possible somewhere after year 2. And so there are some factors that could change it, like different launch scenarios. For example, if you have some brand you can leverage, some unforeseen market trends, like COVID pandemic really helped a lot of people and they thought it's going to be like that forever. New channels, quick release and quick adoption. There was a moment when influencers were really cashing it, but it's not like that anymore. Working with a different product category, for example, in home and decor, electronics, like for example, the proportion of new clients versus old clients will be different. The advertising cost, revenue dynamics is going to be slightly different. And you can also be very lucky. I mean, I've seen it. Like there's ways. Like there are cases like this. Someone hired young, ambitious people and made it with much less cost. So for the last slide, Arek, I know you guys are there already, but gonna be 1 minute. What are the most common mistakes that I have seen of the companies that are entering this launch phase, kind of summing it up? Unrealistic plans in terms of results and costs, and sometimes just not even approaching this phase of doing a strategy and doing actual simulation to understand what you should get ready for. Prioritizing ROAS in advertising over the CLV and CAC ratio. So, I mean, it's unrealistic in some of the categories to make money on the first purchase, and you should know it. You should be aware of it because otherwise you're going to inhibit the growth. Underestimating in marketing automation, database building, seen it. Thinking short terms in terms of campaigns, not thinking about brand enough, really. Taking SEO too late, so it can't really offset the cost of advertising. And building a messy ecosystem, something I talked about a lot in the beginning of this event. And hiring mostly juniors. So I said you can be lucky, but you might also be unlucky. You need people who understand actually more at this early stage because the business and the work will be more dynamic and will require connecting business with numbers and technology and campaigns and creatives and everything. So now the question remains, what exactly should you track, test, and measure in the first few crucial months? And that's where smoothly I'm giving the stage to Anek and Max. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope I didn't really make you tired with the numbers and all that. And yeah, welcome, guys.
Okay, thank you, Eva. Let me just share my screen. Yeah, I think it's good. Okay, yeah, we are talking to welcome everybody again. So me and Max, we are going to talk a little bit about challenges and for launch phase for e-commerce, and also like metrics that startups, like companies that are launching like e-commerce, should track. And once again, I'm Arek. I'm the CEO at Sublime. I'm together with.
Hello, everyone. Yes, it's true. I'm Maximilian Ponka, and I work in Sublime. I'm an analytics engineer.
Yeah, and as a reminder, a quick one, Sublime is an analytics platform that identifies growth opportunities, and we do it for D2C and e-commerce brands in Europe and the US. So we've been lucky to, when we started the company a couple of years ago, we have been lucky to work with many brands, at D2C brands mainly, at their early stage, and we have witnessed how they looked at the data, at metrics, what were crucial for them, how they analyze the data, and how this changed how this changed over time. Because like most of the companies that we have been working with experience really explosive growth rate, and they went quickly from product market fit stage to early growth, then scaling, and some of them to maturity. Today we are going to talk about product market fit stage. So that's the first stage of launching an e-commerce, of launching a business. In this stage, company is concentrated on testing the business model. So it wants to check if it has the right product and this product is right for the audience. And when the company has that, can move to early growth stage where testing the growth opportunities is more important than into scaling, where you like step on the gas and you spend a lot of money on marketing because you know that you are with the right product at the right market, and you know the growth that you have, like the growth capabilities. And then there is like a plateau and maturity phase where the company is like a mature one. So Eva was talking about product market fit phase that lasts about a year. We in our presentation will be talking about product market fit phase, but probably a little earlier one, like until 6 months, let's say. After product market fit phase and between product market fit phase and early growth, the company starts to investigate customer lifetime value and CAC, but we are going to talk about metrics that are important a little bit earlier. So as I said, like our product was like, let's say, developed with growing companies, D2C companies, e-commerce companies. So right now we have a tremendous amount of metrics there, like 300 and 500 charts, 11 dashboards. But for sure, like it's not possible at the early stage to analyze all of that. You would need like a team of analysts to keep track of every metric. And it's also pointless because at the early stage, you are more interested in validating business model than like checking every single metric that you can track. And at product market stage, you are focusing on testing a hypothesis. So those hypotheses can be distilled into a couple of key questions. So the first one being, can we attract customers? So do we have a good product, and is our understanding of the target group a right one? Is there a match? Then is there something for customer to come back for? So that's the question about retention. And is the funnel healthy enough to get answers? So if our analytics is good enough to get data, so we can get answers to the questions, the first two questions. So Max, over to you.
Okay, so once we have launched an online business, we would like to know as fast as possible whether our product offer is attractive and pointed to the right audience. As presented hypothesis states, at this stage of growth, we want to validate that our initial business assumptions regarding to sales and products were correct. Next slide, please. The first metric that is essential to understand the business at this phase is average order value. There is no such thing as universal value for this metric because every business is different, sells different products, so there is no benchmark to compare to. So at first, average order value should be compared only to your initial business assumptions. Is it greater or smaller than expected? The key to success here is to deeply understand this value and its components to optimize it. We should understand the distribution of average order value and its components like average item quantity and average item value. That will allow you to take actions and optimize your business. To better understand the amount of money that an average customer spends, as I said, it is really important to look also at the order value distribution, as presented on these two histograms, instead of just looking at the mean value. AOV is often inflated by outliers. It can be, for example, B2B orders or rare high basket orders. As a result, we can see higher average order values than median values, like on the two presented charts. On the left chart, we can see a nice distribution of basket values with free delivery basket point at around 80 zlotys. Most order is above this point, and most order values are spread close to the mean. Average order values should look like this when we have good product offer. I mean that the final basket value is determined by the fact how much customer really wants to spend on our website. The free delivery price point do not disturb the purchase process, and the offer is so diversified that the customer can choose from different products and prices to create their perfect purchase. Second chart indicates that we have two completely different purchase behaviors of our customers. It can be seen that the full cross and upsell potential is not utilized here. The median value is much better for conclusions here and assumptions in this case. So now we can dive deeper into average order value with following metrics. Next metric is items per order. This metric tells us straightforward if we have mixed baskets. We sell various products within one order when this metric is higher than 2, or just sell one flagship product when it is equal to 1. Of course, it is better to sell various products in single order, since it gives us much higher chance for customer to come back for at least one of them. To understand what type of business you are creating at this very early stage, we also should look at distributions here, not only the mean value. Okay, looking at average order value and average item quantity, generally there are two types of situations that can indicate the need for change. The first one is when average order value is lower than we assumed, and average item quantity is around 1. It means that customers do not feel the need to buy anything but one flagship product from us. What are the reasons? For example, maybe customer does not feel the need or don't understand the value of buying 2 products or more. Maybe another one can be that maybe your product offer is not complementary, or even worse, buying one product from an offer excludes the probability of buying another one. In such cases, we should redesign our product offer and positioning. The second case is if average item quantity is higher than 2, but average order value is not as we expected also. It means that customers do not mix products as we wished. They just buy cheap add-ons instead of additional products from main offer. To better understand where is your business, the next step here is to check the average item value metric. The average item value is the result of previous 2 metrics, basically. This metric will tell us if we cross-sell cheaper add-ons or products with similar or higher price point. The item value should be stable when increasing the number of items sold per order, because we want to cross-sell valuable products, not only cheap add-ons. It doesn't mean that, that add-ons or products from merge are bad. At this stage, we just want to secure that the second and third product in basket is from our main offer. Later, we can sell add-ons and some cheaper products as 4th or 5th product in basket. Another thing that we should check at this moment is the best-selling product analysis. Every business needs to be aware of their best sellers. We should know what are our best sellers by quantity sold and by generated revenue. Here, actually, it is the same product on the slide, but it don't have to be so every time. Knowing that bestsellers, we can validate our initial assumptions according to our business idea and find reasons why average order value is too low. For example, we can sell mostly cheaper products than we expected. The last analysis that helps understand the product offer is the shopping cart content. So we can perform some associations analysis to understand which products are most eagerly bought together. Based on this analysis, we can propose combo sets on website and educate our customers why they should buy these products together. Another thing is that we can implement simple recommendation engine on our website in shopping cart that will suggest our customers which product they should buy, knowing that they want to buy the first one. Okay, next hypothesis we should verify. So if we already used previous indicators to optimize our offer, and our customers spend as much as we want for products we want to sell, then we want to know, is there something in our business for customers to come back? In most e-commerce businesses, there is no profit without returning purchases. That's why we want to validate as early as possible if the customer retention is at desired level. At the beginning of our analytic journey, the best way to do so is to use second order retention rate, which is the number of second orders divided by the number of first orders. At this moment, looking at the retention rate for second orders only should be just enough, because we don't have much historical data and we don't want to wait until customer place third or fourth purchase. We just want to know how much of them place the second one. So to monitor second order retention rate over time, we need to use cohort analysis. We can use monthly or weekly cohorts depending on our needs. Each cohort needs some time for second purchase, as I said. So depending on businesses, we should wait from 1 up to even 6 months for customer to return. Can be in some cases even more. But if we know the frequency of our customers' return, we can analyze the second order retention rate for a given time frame. For example, if we have a product that by default is sold in quantity that is intended to last for 3 months, then we should observe how many people place the second order within a 3-month period. By using the cumulative metric of the second order retention rate within 3 months period, like on the screen presented on the slide, we are able to directly compare retentions between each month over time and draw conclusions and act afterwards. Here I have one benchmark for you. If around, let's say, 20% of customers return with 3 months period, there is a really good potential for a recurring business model. But if the retention is not satisfactory at this level, it may indicate several things. For example, the first one is that the product is not good. Just simple as it is, customers do not want to buy it again. It can be either taste, smell, the working effect of this product, appearance, or anything else. Just the product is not good and we need to do something about it. Another thing is that the product does not stand out from the competition. Here, customers might not necessarily buy it again from you just because there is no difference. Here, the price versus quality ratio is very important. And also the loyalty to your business plays a crucial role here. Another thing is that the product is not repeatable. So there is no need to purchase it again. So there is no reasons to buy it again, and there is no recurring business model. And the last one is that the product is good, in fact, but the sizing you created does not match the expected time frame. So customer return after 4 or 5 months instead of 3. And when it comes to the last point, we would see such a behavior by analyzing charts and can easily adjust the product sizes. But with the other points, if we want to dive deeper, we can, for example, divide our customers into segments and analyze the retention rate per each product or category. It is very important analysis at this stage of growth because it allows us to find the products or whole categories that have problems with retention. So it won't tell us exactly what's wrong with this product, but will point out where changes are needed. As we can see, we have here on the slides 2 different products. One has second order retention rate at the level of 40%, and the other one at 0%. And if we want to know what's wrong exactly with specific product, we need to move to the next slide. At this stage of business development, customer opinions about the products are crucial. We should analyze them in detail and draw conclusions as much as we can. Example metrics that allow tracking product satisfaction include, for example, average review score, negative reviews share, and comment sentiment analysis. But having a substantial number of reviews, it's really worthwhile to create a word and phrase maps as presented on our slide, or use AI for categorizing the reviews and further analysis. We recommend also reaching out to customers and obtaining as much feedback as possible. A good strategy here is to create some kind of community with our customers, for example, on Instagram or Facebook, and offer free product giveaways in exchange for us answering the most pressing questions. Okay, the last thing is that if we want to draw conclusions based on e-commerce metrics I mentioned earlier, we need to first ensure that our sales funnel is healthy enough to get answers. At this moment, we do not want to focus on hyper-optimization of websites like UX aspects, A/B testing, or increasing the conversion rate as much as possible. We just want to verify that our website works just fine, and we do not lose extremely large number of customers during purchase process. That's why we recommend you to look at two analyses at this moment. The first one is the number of sessions on your website spread over time. The best one will be per day. It will tell you how much traffic you attract, and most importantly, does the website really work every day as it should. And the other thing is that we should look at the retention rates at each step of our shopping funnel. I mean that we should look at transitions from sessions to item views, and later from item views to adding to cart, checkout begins, and purchases. And once again, it does not mean you should focus all of your resources to optimize this funnel and get the highest retention rates. This is used to find the bottlenecks of your funnel, if such exist, and improve them. And that's all from me for now. Now Arek will delight you with some slides about how this all can be used in practice.
Yeah, so that was the theory. Oh, sorry. That was the theory, and yeah, how our clients, like, I'm going to show you how our clients use that in practice. So they were like searching for an answers for product market fit stage, and they were trying to get the metrics right and understand what's going on. So Natucare, the supplement brand, were curious if it was selling what it assumed it will be selling, because they started as a marketplace, and it didn't work quite well. So they analyzed the data, and it turned out that they should that it should sell only a couple of their own products. So they became 100% D2C brand. And with Collagen the Collagen became the king. So you can go to their website and see that Collagen is practically everywhere. And they did that by analyzing the metric that Max was talking about. So average order value, second order retention rate for products, and also the best-selling products. And that give them the idea what to do and how they should pivot. The second question, that Proper Good, that's the ready meal US brand that we have been working for a while now, wanted to get answers to was, is the basket size just as expected? Because the meals that they're producing were available only in boxes or 6 or 12 meals at the beginning, but the distribution of orders of item per order wasn't right. So they learned that the customer preferred to create their own sizes, and they changed the website, they changed their logistics, And it paid off because the average items per order increased from 8 to 10. And they did that by analyzing the average order value, also items per order, to see how many items in each order is. And also like the cart contents to see what people are ordering. If you're interested in proper good like growth case study, it's on our blog. It's quite a long article. It covers this topic, but also many others about proper good growth strategy and how they ended up in Shark Tank US. Next question, are first customers coming back and why? It also was the question that Proper Good asked, and we help with the answer. Because they started with vegan and keto as their first target group, they thought that would be a good match for their ready healthy, ready-to-eat meals. But they learned that convenience factor of their meals is quite crucial. It's quite crucial. So they learned that from product reviews, the one that Max was talking about. And they ended up with nurses, doctors, and teachers as target group. And right now they are targeting them in the US quite hard. They are targeting hospitals, they are targeting schools in offline and online. So it was quite a big pivot for them. And the metrics that they used or they analyzed at the beginning is second order retention rate and product reviews. So they contacted clients to see what's wrong with the products that are not being like reordered. And the last one question that Psi Buffet had at the beginning was, does this look like a recurring business? Because they started as with the one-time and subscription orders, and they quickly learned about subscription economics, and that subscription business was much better, much more profitable for them than one-time orders. And they decided to do a bold move, and they switched to 100% subscription model. And they did that also based on average order value analysis, second order retention rate for products. And you can, if you are interested in this story, you can also like check the case study on our blog. We also invited Psi Buffet Chief Growth Officer a couple of months ago to talk at our meetup. It's also in the link to that is also in the blog. So if you're interested, you can check that. So yeah, there is a question because we hear it a lot from clients. So does it make sense so early to invest in data analytics? Well, our clients would say it does because pivoting at the beginning in product market fit stage is crucial because you are searching for a valid business model, and without data, right now it's doable, but it's much harder. And also like the VCs or investors are going to ask you about your metrics, so that's quite useful. Yeah, I guess that's everything. I guess we are right on time. Yeah, thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can write me on LinkedIn. That's the link to my LinkedIn account. I'll be happy to answer. And yeah, have a nice day.
Thank you.
I guess we are still waiting for Eva. Yeah, I think she has some kind of technical difficulties. But I can see that our like panelists are joining. So welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
Kuba here. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah, I won't be as good as I won't be like. Yeah, I won't be as good like I guess host as Eva is because she has like a tremendous. I really like admire her memory because she's every time after like our meetup and our panel discussion, she's able to sum up all the conversations that was going on. that were going on. So so I don't really like feel like feeling in her shoes.
Well, I'm
So we
here.
have to like, oh yeah, so yeah, good. Yeah, it's good that we have you here.
It's a 1 hour,
So over to you.
1 minute delay. Don't panic, guys. Okay, so let's, Arek, maybe you can stop sharing the screen. So, okay, cool. I have already my panelists. So I don't know, Arek, if you want to stay, like you can stay. I won't kick you out, you know? Okay, so we're starting right on time. It's exactly 3 p.m. And it's time for my panel discussion. And welcome. So what I would love to do first is to introduce our panelists who will talk with me today about realities, expectations of entering the digital market with a new e-commerce project business. So let's start with Magda Marzec, starting with the ladies, obviously. So Magda is right now a brand manager at Light ECommerce that is responsible for brands like Yush and Delio. But she had some really interesting different experiences related to launching actually international brands in the new markets. Some of the big names include Netflix and Too Good To Go, which is a brand in a very nice category. And I hope Magda will be able to actually tap into her entire scope of experiences to share with us today. Then we've got Kuba Zwolinski, CEO of a Snowdog. Snowdog is really awesome digital agency. We have met before on some project years back. Then I don't know, we somehow reconnected. And I'm always inspired by people who work on the huge projects, but who are also building a really top level expertise around their companies. So Kuba's company was involved in a technology side of launches of some of the biggest brands, for example, in the Polish market, like eobuwie, which is like obviously one of these online stores that everyone is looking to. But his company is and was a specialist in the Magento field. So they had really good experts around it. And another thing they're like doing something which I also value, which I also like do partly with Tribe and with Sublime, like he's sharing knowledge, he's putting communities together. And on May 15, he's organizing a Meetcommerce conference. April 15, sorry, he's organizing Meetcommerce conference. So that's where the main topic will be actually connection between the offline and online world. So something which is like a huge challenge for all the brands who really want to make it big out there. I will have a pleasure to lead one of the panels there, but you guys should check the website and really see the agenda, because I think it's very cool, and there are going to be lots of discussions. So it won't be just a keynote presentations. There will be a lot of discussions like that. And finally, we've got Waldek Pilch from Formats. Well, it's so many things I could talk about you, Waldek, because Waldek is like, for me, this archetype of a global entrepreneur who really lived around the world, started in the investment funds, like did some really lifting and selling of a company before, and finally invested in some B2C brand of supplements, which was already very successful, and decided to launch and own e-commerce for that brand format. And we had the pleasure to be a part of preparing that launch, and I think we're still in the launch phase, kind of, I would say. But like,
Yeah, I was looking at Eric's graph and I was like, where are we, early growth or launch? I'm still thinking.
I think we're somewhere in between, which is like super exciting. I think we're like kind of getting out of the launch phase, so that's a cool thing. But you've been there, done that, and you just done that recently, and you have actually invested in that yourself, and I think that makes you a really interesting participant here. So each of you guys is bringing a different perspective to this idea of launching a new commerce business. And just some quick rules, like I will try to finish at 4 because I know you guys have some other things in your lives and businesses, and I'm very, very honored that you guys said yes to actually dedicate your hour. I want to learn. I want other people who will watch it or watch the recording to learn. So let's dive into it. But one thing for you, please. Disagree if you hear something you disagree with, because then it's going to be fun. You can argue even a little, it will be even more fun. So there's like total yes to all the kind of stuff like that, because this will make this discussion fun. I'm going to be posing the questions sometimes, like if you guys want to talk, you just talk. If no one talks, I will point a person. So I will behave a bit like a school teacher at times. Okay, so let's start. My first question is, so you guys been a part of launches of new commerces, or you done one, like what's your perspective on the actual expectations that founders, boards, people in charge have towards this phase of starting a new e-commerce project? And how does it usually match with the reality? Like, are people really good at, planning this phase and getting what they expected from it?
Well, maybe I can jump in here, because I always have this saying that Excel can accept everything. You can put any numbers in it and it will look good, but then the reality comes and verifies what were your plans and business goals. So yeah, there were many cases I've seen where the growth plan was very elaborate and it really looked good in the sheets. But then it took, for example, more time for people to really uptake a service or a product, and it didn't really match the reality. Therefore, I always recommend to have this MVP approach to really try to prototype as much as possible and see, for example, what is the organic uptake of a service or a product before really launching, for example, a very big 360 campaign that costs a lot of money. An example could be Netflix in Poland. There was a launch, but it was only PR and let's say some influencer activity, but they've actually waited for the whole year to really see how the market behaves and what is the market potential, and only then started doing more activations locally and investing more money in, for example, local productions. So that's my example from the top of my head, but it would be great to hear yours.
But was it really how they planned it? That's how they want it, or it was just so? For example, from these PR activities and influencers, did they get what they expected, or there were some
Yeah, they were actually trying to see what is the potential and what will be the word of mouth, what will be the buzz around the brand, and they took a lot of time before really deciding to go for the market. And that was like a soft launch approach, let's say. So it was deliberate that they didn't do a big bang campaign with outdoor or anything like that, or celebrities, but rather something smaller scale and just dipping the toe in the water and seeing what the potential is.
Interesting. I wonder if they, for example, were also considering if it doesn't work, they will, for example, skip the Polish market and just don't go there, right? Because I think that's what sometimes big brands do. They just are testing the waters and then like, maybe it's not the market.
Yeah, that's what actually happened in some other countries. For example, Romania. They launched at the same time as Poland, and then they didn't go for the market for a longer while. So yeah, that's actually a strategy.
Well, so you would say it was a smart, mindful strategy of Netflix compared to Shopee, PP that did it like all different.
Yeah, I actually had the experience myself because I was also a part of Showmax, which was supposed to be a challenger of Netflix. So it was a SVOD service as well. And it was a different approach. There was a big bang, a big campaign, just like Shopee. And then it seemed that the market didn't follow. People were really hesitant, for example, to leave their credit card numbers and really didn't have the trust. What is this and why would I use it? And why would I subscribe to watch movies when I can totally do it for free on TDA? So, so the market really verified this approach very quickly, although the campaigns were very big and there was a huge investor, Naspers, so Prosus, so one of the biggest capitals in the world. So it wasn't a matter of money or the strategy. It was just it was a matter of the market maturity, and so I could really experience it myself that those two different strategies, well, both were good. I wouldn't say that that one of them was good and the other was bad. It was just a completely different strategy. If you have money to spend, then go for it. But doing a soft launch and prototyping and doing it step by step is also a way to go.
Yeah. Cool, especially for the brand that already exists, right? And like it can have many options. What's your like Kuba? You are working very often from the side of a service delivery, right? Then what do you see when it comes to what companies expect and then what they are actually experiencing? And how's that topic for you?
Yeah, I definitely treat the launch very digitally. So for us, it's like something that is in production, and then there is some moment on the timeline that we launch something, that we go from the development phase to the maintenance and future enhancement. But this is also like this is a very sensitive moment. But I think that the biggest difference between expectations and reality is that investors very often think about the launch moment as something that happens. It's just switch and you go on. It's actually also a process. You cannot just keep pushing all new features until the launch date, then switch the button, push the button, and then keep pushing more features. I think it's really important to understand that the launch, like as Magda said, like it needs to be well-defined MVP, something that it's a minimum critical package to solve the business problem. And why minimum? Not to just make it quicker, but to make it easier to validate the launch. If it really works, if we launch something super complex, it's also super difficult to verify if we did everything okay. So the smaller amount of new features or changes are implemented in the launch, the better. The easier is to make a rollback or to change our idea. So for me, it's important that the reality is that we should have some time to properly test everything, to make sure that we don't try to launch everything at once. And the launch actually doesn't end with turning on the production side. There is a period, whatever you do, however good you are, there is a period of warming up the whole system, and it needs a very like a detailed focus on everything. If we know what to track, if we know how to verify if our plans were actually accurate, if we are solving the right problem of our customers. So I would say this is usually the main, the most important point when the reality is slightly different than expectations. It's just that the launching of the technology is a longer process. There is like some activities pre-launch and post-launch, they are actually a very integrated part of that. So of course, this is like I'm totally ignoring the business aspect of launching the whole e-commerce or a new system, but definitely the most common mistake is trying to launch something too big, and instead of going with steps, something that is testable, we try to launch everything.
And then you expect that you launch and boom, $1 million
Yes, and
the account.
yeah, and
Okay, but
maybe there is also other aspect that every launch needs a close cooperation between every involved party. The very common mistake is that one side is too busy and is expecting that the other side is so professional and have so strong expertise that can do everything on their own. That's actually not true. Like if we are delivering some technology, we need a strong support from the investor, because the investor really needs his or her business. So that's why the pre-launch and post-launch, with testing, with validating the whole idea, it is so important to work closely. So we really understand if we see the same effects. And this is the second big problem during the launch, if there is not enough focus from the business side to look if everything is going as planned.
to be involved. So Bartek, like you've been in this reality, so you can say, like, from your experience, what you were thinking gonna happen and actually happened. Like, do you have some like interesting stories, or you might also not want to share because
a lot of war stories, right? Every war has lots of stories. Well, for us, I think when I look back, right, in the back view mirror, it's really, you know, launch day is like day one. This is where, you know, your budget expenses become really high. You know, you think launch is when you've incurred all your expenses, your budgets, you've done all your work. No, day one is when it really starts getting expensive. So I think a lot of people don't realize that. This is I would say, about the expectations, right? But I would say, just going back to the question, what are the expectations? I would say, you know, for us, from our perspective, what are the goals, right? Is it increasing sales, growing like crazy? What is it, right? For us, it's really all about creating an omni-channel experience, having access to consumers. We've been doing this for 10 years, creating, you know, products that our customers have been passionate about. What we didn't have is, you know, a delightful experience for customers, and being able to learn from that. We learn from our customers. Now, I mean, we're learning so much every day directly from our customers. So I think that was the goal. And now the goal is to grow it, obviously, but just having access, this direct consumer access, is really what we wanted to build. And I guess that was the expectation.
Yeah, that's really cool, right? I was talking about it in a presentation that I used to, and to start this event today, that very often brands who are already offline, they have a much more complex set of goals that they want to fulfill with the launch of the e-commerce. And you have to know, why are you doing this, right? If you don't have the right expectations, then that's where it starts. Like, why are you doing this? Are you doing it just to grow the revenue and to make more money? Then you should probably understand that this will happen at some point, but there will be some steps in between, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there might be other things, right, that can start happening much earlier. That's a cool part. Okay, now another question is a little bit about this prep time. So when there is this new launch that is, you know, in a plan, let's say like a brand, a company is planning to launch in the new market, or a new brand totally. There is a team that wants to launch a new brand, or like you, Waldek, you wanted to launch like a brand new e-commerce platform for the existing brand. Like, what are those key planning prep things that business owners, founders should do before you guys can talk also about some data that is good to gather, some things that you believe it's good to look into? Like if there was someone here watching who's thinking to do that, planning that, like what would you say? Like what you should do right now? Like where you should to put your head into?
I'm happy to take that one. I mean, there is a good old saying, right? Measure 10 times, cut once. Don't cut 10 times and measure once. You know, that really applies to, I think, to e-commerce. I mean, if we spend a year developing it, then we've probably spent 8 months planning and 4 months launching, right? Going to a launch date, building it per se, you know, from a technology standpoint. But actually, this actually also surprised me. What was really actually our first discussion, Eva, I mean, we're working a lot together. So, I mean, you know, full disclosure. So, you know, simulations is something that's a good, I mean, yes, you've got to have your strategy session, you've got to have your personas, you've got to have your brand books, work with experts, don't try to do everything internally, you know, get experts externally, all that stuff. And that's right there, 6 months of work,
Yeah,
right?
like,
We haven't even touched the technology part.
you kind of took quite a while, right? I remember we spoke like probably longer than a year before the e-commerce was actually launched, and Valek was already looking into it and planning and really investigating options market and everything. So there was lots of prep and thinking, right? It wasn't like let's jump into into it and build an e-com. And I support that. I mean, I'm more on that. I'm more on that side.
Looking back, that was a good decision. Also, we internally feel that way because we knew exactly what kind of experience we want to build on our website for our customers. We knew the brand identity. We knew, you know, the language, the tone, the communication. When we started executing, it was a lot easier. But the other thing that was really useful, and it still continues to be useful, I continue to you know, this might be, I guess, better lucky than good. We're lucky or good, don't know. But simulations that we're running together with Tribe, I mean, we've been 97 to 102% precise every month, every week. We're correcting those, we're updating those. But when you have a simulation, when you agree with your partners on goals, you know, 12 months ahead, and then execute it monthly, you as a business owner, I mean, you sleep a lot easier because these amounts are, you know, you're spending a lot of money, right, on everything. And when you're tracking, you basically don't question anything. You know, this is what you subscribed for. And this is when it performs. It's just so much easier to execute and to make important decisions. So that simulation, Eva, I think, you know, that's I would still say this is probably one of the key things that is very useful, even
What
at
could
the launch date.
That's really interesting. What could be an example of this simulation? What if whatever you can share with us, of course.
I mean, it's just, I was sharing a part of it during the talk I gave in the beginning. So you can, guys, later, if you haven't been there, you can listen it. It's just like looking like what are the chunks of costs that anyways you will have to bear, because there's some costs that like, you know, you can go small, then it goes into big stuff, Magda, that you spoke about, like 360 campaign, but you know, you don't have to go there, right? You can, but you still, there gonna be some costs, like technology, like management, like creative development, all that stuff. And realities on how much you can really scale the sales month to month, because there's some realities to it that you will not jump over. You will not start the first month and sell 1,000 pieces if you're the brand new account on Meta or Google or whatever, because they will not even allow you to do that, right? So scaling will be like month to month something, right? And that will be faster in the beginning, slower later. So obviously there's many things you can already predict, and these simulations might totally not happen because for example, the market is not ready for it. But if you know more or less that the market is there, you know, for your product and for your business, like there's lots of things you can predict. And You guys are doing that too. I mean, on the light e-commerce, you guys have plans, you know where like what you want to achieve, and I must say you guys are also quite precise. Like, I mean, we can't share, of course, the numbers, but I mean, like you're not missing you're not missing the goals that you guys are setting.
Yeah, I think the key is scaling. That's, I think, the good point, and to think, what can you optimize? So what can you add to the product or service, or what can you get rid of? And already think about it in the beginning, because sometimes it's like there's a big hype for a product during the launch phase. Everyone's talking about it, and then it starts growing and growing, and then you're kind of scrambling what to do next. So I think the beginning it's very important to already think 3 steps forward and to think about how will you scale it. So
Yeah,
if
but
you will distribute it in another city or another country, what would it take? Would you have to build another factory? Would you have to hire another 100 people? So obviously there are businesses that you want to keep the scale smaller, and it's perfectly fine. But if you're thinking about some kind of expansion, then I think it's a good tip to really think how will you scale it.
Yeah, and
yeah,
you know,
I think it's important point, like when talking about scaling, that there is the other side of that there are many merchants that when they are looking for technology, they are looking for the most scalable, the most powerful technology, but they very often forget that it has a price, and usually has a very high price. So if there are some realistic approach, and we know that we have a business that may be pretty successful, but in the next 3-5 years it will not reach some levels, it doesn't make sense to buy the most expensive, the most scalable technology, because actually 3 to 5 years is a good life cycle for a technology. So it's not bad to change your platform, change your technology after 5 years. It's actually much better than over investing and buying a rocket just to go to the next street at the very beginning. So finding the right balance when thinking about scaling is super important. Like there are many smaller businesses starting that they just come to a technology company like ours, and they say, we want to have to be a second Zalando, or we want to be a second whatever, and please build it for us. That's fine, yeah, but they are building it for years. And do you have the real business capacity to go to that scale? Why do you need the same technology? Especially that some solutions that works for those biggest players are not good for smaller ones. Like if Amazon is using some checkout, it doesn't mean that it will be good for every other store. And this is actually a very common example that Amazon is using this checkout, so it has to be, the best in the world. And we all know that Amazon checkout is a very special experience. Yeah, so
yeah, but that's exactly what I'm saying. Like if you sit at an Excel and you say like Excel can take everything, but some people don't do this exercise. Like they don't look at the Excel from the perspective like, is it really possible for me to make these like 1,000 sales, get 1,000 clients in the first month? Like, why? From where? Maybe if I'm Netflix, yes. But if I'm like this brand that no one knows, has no access to anything, no brand, no recognition, nothing, this will not happen like that. Like probably these 1,000 clients will be like in the month 8, 9. So I will not build the Zalando store, right? Because it makes no sense, because I will not be Zalando in the next 3 years. Like it will not happen for me. But Kuba, you touched exactly on my next question, which is like, what are the investments that are crucial in this launch phase? And what are the investments that maybe could wait, and you should be more mindful about?
investment in smart people, especially on the investor side. From our perspective, we can see that very often we miss a proper product owner on the merchant side. And by product owner, I mean someone who understands the technology that we provide, someone who has time to understand what we do, but who is also inside the organization to know everything about the business. It's not a project manager. We shouldn't like confuse like it's not the same role. Product owner is someone who can make decisions about the platform, how it works, how it fits the business. Because we know one side, like our role is to provide the best technology for the job, but someone has to tell us when is the best, when is good enough for this business. Because our goal may be just to climb higher and higher, and keep delivering the best possible technology. But for the business, it may have no sense. We like very often we don't know every details, every plan inside the business. So for me, this is the most important investment. Technology is the second thing, because right now you have so many technologies available on the market, and actually almost all of them, they can bring you a great system and great sales engine. Whatever, if it's Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce, Shopware, whatever we call, they are all good. If there are good people behind it, doing it in a creative and smart way, they can all bring good results. So we have a lot of automatization, but it's still about people. If we don't think when we use tools, they will not work.
I love that you said that. It resonates with like my approach to the e-commerce business too. But I want to hear Magda, because I mean, I also think the big cost very often in the first year is around brand and creative and communication. And I want to kind of get your opinion about it, because you were working around that side. And what's the most important there? What can wait? Like you already mentioned that some things might be an overshot, but maybe some things are super crucial. We had one event here that was about brand, and obviously there were everyone shouting like, yeah, you have to do brand from the start. If you don't, like it's gonna really, kill your growth at some point. So you can't really stop at it. But really, what's that side of the story? Like what's important from the communication brand creatives?
Yeah, I think I will say something controversial as a marketer, but I don't really think that the brand itself is crucial. I think the customer insight is the most crucial. So what problem are you solving for the customers? How do you respond to the need of the market? Or like, can you create this need? And then only comes the image, the brand, and everything that follows. And of course, you have to have some branding and some consistency. I don't know, have the logo in place, obviously, and some kind of positioning and persona, like have target your customers and to know who are you going to speak to. But I don't think that, especially in when something new comes to market, for example, Too Good To Go, it was a mess when it comes to the image. We used to have those cartoons, and in each market there was something different, and they didn't look consistent at all. If there were even cases where the logo was different and the style of communication was completely different in each of the countries, but somehow it managed to become a global player. So despite all those things and so if the market is there and people respond to it and there's like big buzz around it and huge word of mouth, you can even go without this, perfect branding, visuals, and beautiful advertisements, and you can still win the market. So obviously, if you have if you have money to really do a big proper campaign, full brand book, great photo session, and have a celebrity endorsing your product, it's great. But you can really live without it, and you can work your way around it in some in different activations or different PR or influencer activities.
I'm curious about your opinion, Waldek, because I know, and it touches a little bit some question that I had for you anyways. Like it might be like for you, it was a bit different because the rebranding, for example, for formats was actually some kind of thing that was happening in parallel para, oh my God, I can't say it, but simultaneously, right? When you were launching an e-commerce. So what was your learning from it? Like how important you think that was to make it? Because your case was also very different, right? Like you already
Yeah.
had lots of distributors, like the brand was already in market, was experiencing some challenges as well, right? From the brand standpoint.
Well, from rebranding perspective, we actually I agree and disagree with what Magda just said. Here is one. So I agree that beautiful packaging and beautiful pictures are not necessarily needed. And our branding we had a very strong customer loyalty because our products are good. But we didn't update the design, for the last 8 years since beginning, right? It was just something that was created. It was just kind of like marketing and branding is not important. It's the ingredients and the quality of the product that's important. That's what we focus on. And it resonated really well with our customers. So we didn't need to technically do this if we stayed with our highly conscious, aware customers and just wanted to appeal to them. We probably didn't need to do anything. But we wanted to update, and and it wasn't ugly, but it wasn't a pretty packaging. And there is something about packaging that's not, everything in today's world needs to be beautiful and this and that, and it doesn't, right? It needs to be memorable. That's really what it's about: color, contrast, all the things that are, I guess, every marketer knows. So here I agree. However, where I do think, and we do think about this, is a definition of a brand, right? Not branding as a logo and brand book, but what customers think. And we talked about it many times before. What is a brand? Everyone has a different definition. Whether it's customers' loyalty or what people say behind your back, right? That's the brand. I think that's really important. And how you create that story and how we create that story is important to us if we want to have a wider appeal with the same quality of product, just new branding. But yes, it was tricky because we wanted to change more, but then market research said don't change too much. People like you're blue. You're blue, don't change, right? Red Bull is the same can for 30 years for a reason. Same with Pepsi. So we didn't change a lot of things, just updated.
But I think the small update in the end was positively kind of appreciated, right, by the market and by the distributors. Okay, so
We're
let's
happy about it.
talk now. Technology has to have its minute as well. So Kuba, of course, this is always like one of the biggest decisions, and as you said, like one of the biggest investments. A part of smart people, technology is what gonna actually make your wallet thin in the beginning. So now, like, how should these new companies choose? Like, what's like, how do you start that conversation? What are maybe the trends and how did it change over the past few years? Like, what are the technologies that should be considered in this early stage? You probably could talk an hour about it, but like to put it in like 1 minute, max 2 minutes.
I think it's more a discussion for days than 1 hour.
Okay.
I think there are a lot of factors, and one of them is a business complexity. Because we can talk about launching a new e-commerce for small new business or even a larger but new business, which has a pretty simple structure. But the new e-commerce can be also launched inside a big corporation with a very advanced structure and many business systems that have to be connected with e-commerce, and that's one of the most important factors to think about the architecture. Everything it's like fashion. Also, technology has trends. So there are some trends every year or every couple of months, and some investors, they don't think about their business, then don't think about their goal, but they think about the trend. So, oh, now everyone should have PWA, or now everyone should go composable, or now everyone should go to SaaS, which is, of course, like with every trend. Like if you follow the trend without thinking why, uh, it's just a dead end. You will hit a wall sooner or later. So all of those like trendy words, they represent some approach, some technology, but they need to reflect the actual business need. So if we have a super complex business that needs a different sources of truth, they needed different integrations. The only way maybe to go composable, so to put together different puzzles, different bricks. But for many businesses, it's better to start with something simple, with a monolith that can deliver everything you need in much easier way. Because when we are thinking about launching new e-commerce, usually business thinks only about capex and forget about OpEx. What's really happening next? What will be your maintenance cost? If you choose again the complex architecture, then even changing small element will be super time consuming and expensive. So that's like there are many different options right now, and I would say that again it comes back to people. So as Waldek said, it's all about measuring and about measuring with right people, because there are many ways to get to reach the goal. It's just you need to choose one, and it may be not the best. It should be the
And
one that you think is the most reasonable at the moment.
what are the technologies that you're usually working with and you're recommending to customers? If you can share, because sometimes we don't
Yeah,
like to share as service providers, but I know you guys have some favorites, and yeah, maybe good. Maybe this will inspire someone.
for me, it's a tough question because for years I was kind of evangelist for Magento and then Adobe Commerce. So it's really a tricky question. Like in Poland, when someone says Magento, it's usually somehow related with my name or my company name. But actually, market changed a lot, and I think there are so many other great platforms that fit better in some cases. So we added BigCommerce, Shopify, Commerce Tools to our portfolio because they are similar. You can build kind of similar final effect on each of them, but in different ways. And each of them will fit a different business better. So it's much better right now to choose the platform that fits the merchant needs instead of offering one platform to do it all. It's really hard. So it's more a personal preference. I would say I like this platform or the other platform because I work with them for years and I know them very well. But it doesn't mean that the other platform is not, as good as the one I'm using. It's again about our experience and how we use the tool. The tool itself is just a tool, but how we use it is the key. So yeah, like I have my favorite set because this is what I and my team knows the best. But this is also the one layer. We still have like a product information management tools, CRMs, all the warehouse management systems, different OMS, order management systems. So for some complex projects, it's the e-commerce platform is just a tip of the iceberg, something that connects the customer with the business, but then you have multiple e-commerce systems behind it. So it's a topic to discuss for days. That's for sure.
Okay, Waldek, I will just ask you, like jumping because the time is running. I love the discussion, but I want to finish like at 4, just not to keep you guys too long. But I still have some, I think, interesting questions. And one is where Waldek, I think you can share because when Formats was entering with their own e-commerce store, there was already a big number of different distributors out there. So the product was selling through physical chains, a lot of local small physical chains, but also through different digital distributors. So it was available in different like online pharmacies and different like online stores with supplements. It was available on Allegro in multiple different kind of distributors. So what are the crucial lessons from doing this e-commerce launch in the ecosystem where, you know, the product is already out there and you're kind of going there to compete a little bit? Like, I mean, you're looking for the synergy, but in a way you're competing with other companies that also are selling your product, right?
Yeah, it's a really good question, right? And a lot of companies do, a lot of e-commerce companies go offline, right? And offline, I think you've captured that in your presentation. It's 85% of retail sales.
Exactly.
It is where the numbers are.
Yes,
E-commerce, right? So not for us, it's before entering e-commerce, we're 50-50 online, offline. So we were e-commerce company without doing e-commerce.
And it was done by other guys who now are like, oh,
it was all the Google ads, all basically everything was covered by others. We started in retail, right? Just to be clear, retail educated really a lot of consumers, and then online picked up on this. I think it's really important to continue respect your partners and distributors, work with them, create partnership programs for them, which we are doing, to enable them to do their business better. Also, you know, having the right pricing structures, things. So you have to think through it really holistically. Upfront, you make that mistake upfront, and it's a snowball effect afterwards. I think we got it right. Time will tell. But we have thought about it a lot. Did a lot of work in Excel just to make sure that everyone's happy. And we are working with our distributors very closely on through our partnership program to help. Actually, we share with them our lessons learned. We run a promotion and we say, this promotion worked great. Why don't you do it next month? So, and this one doesn't work really well. Don't do it. So we're trying to be extremely sort of transparent and, you know, and have this partnership mindset.
Yeah, so kind of starting with this mindset from the beginning, you know, I've been in one launch in the similar setup where this field was totally not communicated, not prepped, nothing.
It can be a disaster.
And later it created a lot of like unnecessary stress, right? And it also created these kind of external factors that were influencing the growth decisions, because it was constantly like, okay, there's a fire, so we can't do that because someone will again get angry, or someone will again, like, it was a disaster, really. So I think that's a very interesting perspective of someone here listening is planning to go from having offline, online, but through distributors to their own e-commerce. Very important aspect to take care of, plan, and do it even before, to make sure that everyone knows what's happening and they know how they can benefit from what's happening. And Magda, like, it's always different cases of launch, and that's why I'm so happy you guys are all here, because in your cases it was usually those brands who, like, they were somehow known in terms of, for example, Too Good To Go or Netflix that you have mentioned. They were entering the new market. So do you see there's some special, I don't know, strategies or tips or something that, I mean, you kind of already shared about Netflix, that they kind of use the PR, so they use maybe a little bit of the brand impact that was shining from abroad to test the waters. But are there any other things that you think is very crucial to take care of when it's a company that, you know, exists somewhere there and now they're entering a new market? Like, are there some important things that you think sometimes those brands forget about?
Well, there were for sure many cases of huge brands coming to Poland and failing miserably. And I think a recent example of Shopee would be the It would be kind of a loud, let's say, example, but it doesn't mean that they did something wrong. It could be a question of the market readiness or competitive landscape, or just a question of, I don't know, Polish customers choosing very cheap Chinese products from other players. So I think
or not knowing that we have Allegro, right?
yeah, or just underestimating the competitors. But I wouldn't say it was, that they came here like a cowboy and they thought that they're going to win the market. Maybe they were testing and with huge investments, but still it was a kind of a test. And for those companies spending a couple of millions for the launch, it's not a big deal. So let's keep this also perspective in mind. But I only think that those global players have it a bit easier because they have learnings from other countries and they can recreate what already worked and use some ideas that worked before. Of course, it doesn't always mean that it will do the same job, but I think it's just easier for them. It's much harder for new players to come to the market and really introduce themselves and rely on itself. So I only think that's the only difference, I would say.
Does it because one question that always is in my head, because sometimes I have a chance to talk to people who are thinking to launch, and for example in Poland, they're a foreign brand. Do you think this cultural aspect or understanding some kind of cultural nuances of the country that you're entering is very important? And following that, do you think it's crucial to have a local team members from the country to be a part of the team, or you think maybe not, because then I don't know, I'm wondering what's your opinion, because the different brands, I know they do it differently.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to have a local team. I think it always helps to have someone here in place and understand the market, but it's also not something, it's not a must-have. Netflix didn't have any team working here on the ground for first couple of years, and they did perfectly fine, and they built the team step by step, and so it doesn't mean that it's a huge advantage if you have a local team always. I think what's important is just to have good people. So whether abroad or locally, I think it's very important to really know who you are hiring and really go for someone with hard skills instead of, I don't know, matching personality or having someone fun to be around with. But really think about what kind of skills does this person have, and do you trust this person, and do you want to build the whole company and the business together? So I would rather say that's more about the profile of the person and the experience and the skills rather than him being here or there.
Okay. Kuba, do you have some, because you also work in the international teams, is that any topic, or you think this local understanding, cultural understanding is important, or you also think it's we live in a global village? And
I think it's the local aspect is super important, but for customer service, customer experience, coming from human factor. For us, from the technology standpoint, it doesn't matter. Of course, there are local differences. There are some design aspects, like if we design for Japan, it will be, of course, completely different than designing in Europe. There are some technology aspects, but this is so common knowledge that we can easily handle from one place. But it's completely different when it comes to customer support. This is what people expect, to have someone to help them in a local way, to understand emotions, to understand the cultural aspect. So the technology is more international. It's like we can operate wherever we want, but it doesn't mean that business can operate wherever it wants.
okay, well, I thought you guys will maybe have some disagreement here, but I think this could be a topic for some session. I mean, for example, we had a talk here once about the subscription businesses, right? And we were analyzing a little bit how Poland differs towards Europe and United States in terms of, for example, how people are willing to put the credit card, and for subscription you have to do that. And that we are like some kind of an outlier when it comes to that tendency, and how sometimes brands, for example, don't take it fully into consideration. So, but okay, I mean, time is running. I have the final question for you, which is you already know the question, so you know it's going to be something to sum up. So, if you would have to give like one most crucial piece of advice to someone looking to launch a new e-commerce business, in a new market, let's say in the Polish market or any other European market, what would this piece of advice be? Like kind of to leave your Yoda mark on that person. Like if they were supposed to remember one thing only, then what it is.
Evan, okay, I'll take that one first. Build an amazing team. Just have a great team. Kuba said that before. I think Magda said that as well. Of all the things, when I look back at this 1 year, that would be, the proudest moment is having a great team. And not just, obviously internally, but also the partners you choose to work with. I mean, they become part of your family as well. You work with them on daily basis, whether it's on Slack or on calls. And if you pick your team the wrong way, I mean, you're done. And if you have a great team, that's a beginning of success.
Yeah, I would add on to this because I also think it's crucial, and having, as I mentioned before, someone you trust, someone you can rely on, someone who is a self-starter and can manage himself instead of you doing the job twice. It's also important to be flexible in terms of hiring. So hire fast and fire faster. I think it's very brutal, but I think it's also important not to get stuck with someone who, I don't know, you like personally and is a great person, but doesn't have the right skills, or it turns out it's not a good fit for the market. It's always better, both for the person and for yourself, to let him go and find someone who really is fit for the job and you can rely on, instead of, trying to work around and like do crazy stuff just to keep the job. And then he suffers and you suffer and the business suffers. So especially in Warsaw, when the job market is good for the employees, I think it's really okay to do it. And especially in the startup phase, when the growth is very dynamic, and sometimes the person who you hire in the beginning doesn't turn out to be the person that you want to work long term with. And I think it's very brutal and it sounds very aggressive, but I've been there. I've been on both sides, and I think I fully understand it, working for startups for over 10 years now.
Oh, thank you, Magda. And Kuba, do you want to add something to it?
Yeah, don't focus too much on tools and technology. Like
Wow, you said that.
yes, great customer support on poor technology can do much more than poor customer support on the best technology. So it's like it's just a tool. So like if we forget that where is the goal, and that the customer is the most important, and we think that technology can do magic, then we are wrong. So of course, I deliver tools, I deliver technology, but it's also my lesson over years that we just build a tool. It has to be solid, it has to do the job, but this is not the actual goal to build the best tool.
So the people first, right? Inside and outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool conclusion. I will just quickly run over what we spoke about, just to give a quick summary to people. So we started with some expectations toward realities, and you guys all agree that there is like this mythical launch point that everyone thinks it's like something that will magically happen, and I don't know, that's when all the money will get to an account and it's where everything finishes. But actually, first of all, usually it's not the highest caching moment. And usually it's when the actual expenses start. And companies should remember about that, and they should be preparing. They should be preparing much earlier. They should be taking time to choose the technology, to choose the right team, and to also choose the approach that matches their launch scenario. Like we had Valdek talking about the brand that actually is already out there but doesn't have an online channel, but yet it's not like a huge, mass market brand. So they had to handle a lot of things before, for example, the relationships with their distributors. Then we had Magda talking about Netflix and other big brands who are entering the new market like Poland, and how their approaches differ and their expectations might also differ. There is a slow MVP approach that Magda is more of a fan of, but there is also like a big bang approach. Well, both can be fine, right? But you just have to know what you're going into and what's going to be, the result. If you're going big bang, it's like big risk, big gains, but also big losses, if that's your thing, yeah? But if you're going like slowly, obviously the big effect will not come in the first few months when you're just testing the grounds, right? So it's very good to try to simulate that and to expect and to know what's going to be the costs. Waldek spoke about how we actually did a lot of financial simulations to understand what kind of sales growth we can expect in the case of his particular brand. We were also talking about the most important investments, and you guys even finished with that, like people gonna be your investments, and you should invest in the smart people. Because the launch phase is complex, you have to connect a lot of dots. You should have on your side some smart people. You should have some smart people between your partners, and also these people should collaborate. I think Kuba spoke about it, that sometimes he sees that, wow, people are just unplugging from this phase before the launch, and then you can't really deliver the good technology if no one collaborates with you, and if the amount of engagement of the sides of the investor and the partner is different. So you have to take care about all of that. And finally, we were also touching on the technology, and Kuba was sharing how it's important to really match it to the actual requirements. And these requirements, again, going to be different when it comes to different scenarios of launching. But finally, he said that technology is actually not the most important. It should serve the customer, and the customer experience is really, in the end, the most important. And you should know, like, why are you doing this? Because not always a launch of an e-commerce is just to make money. Sometimes you can do it to understand your customer better, to, for example, create some synergy between different channels. These goals and these expectations, if you set them right, they will either come true or not, but at least you will know if you're going the right direction. And I think that's what I remember from the whole talk. And you guys, I think, delivered a lot of cool stuff. We've got a recording of this, and then thank you so much for your time. Please feel free to share this. I think this can serve a lot of business owners who are like right now on this fence of like, oh, should I do it? When should I do it? Because I think that's the moment when you need a lot of support and you need to gather insights and take your time. So thank you so much. And I see you guys somewhere in the world, because yeah, we usually see each other somehow. So see you.
See you next week.
Take care.
Maybe we can meet at the conference in April. So
of course.
Feel free to come, and if you use the code launch24, you will have a special gift from the organizers of this online meeting and from organizers of Meetcommerce conference. So hopefully we can meet there.
We will send the more information about the Meetcommerce conference to everyone, because like we're gonna be there. I think the conversation will also be very meaningful because offline and online world connection in terms of e-commerce, it's a hot topic and it's a future. Omnichannel is the future, really, and we can't avoid it. especially when most of the sales are still happening offline. So we're gonna send you guys more info about it. We hope to see you there. And thank you guys so much. And Arek, you showed up. Why?
Yeah, just saying goodbye to everyone.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So goodbye, everyone. And what we're gonna send all the info about our partners who are really supporting us, because it's ECommerce. It's also Founders Mind, where I'm gonna be speaking. I forgot about Founders Mind. Actually, I'm gonna be speaking there, and this one is in the 15th of May. So one is 15th of May, and the other conference is 15th of April. So you guys can go and meet us live 15th of April, 15th of May. So coincidence, good coincidence to remember. And yeah, you guys should fill the survey as well. We will send it to let us know if you like the topics. And yeah, thank you, Arek. You were awesome.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming, staying with us. Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
for the invitation. Bye.
Bye.